In this presentation, we will see the conservative mainstream culture that was promoted as the all-American ideal did not match everyone's experiences. Style communities formed based on economic status, political outlook, or even just for entertainment. A tough street style for young people grew up in opposition to the Ivy League or suburban ideal. The signature wardrobe was the black motorcycle jacket. Women wore overly tight pencil skirts, and both men and women wore exaggerated bouffant hair. After the American success in World War II and the powerhouse of popular culture, movies, television, and the music industry, American styles were copied the world over, just as hip-hop and rap spread to every corner of the globe. Here we see four young men in Japan with exaggerated bouffants called DA hairstyles. It was called a ducktail or, on the street, duck's ass. The back formed two wings that reminded people of duck feathers. The textbook describes another fashion called teddy boys, a street style that developed in Britain. It was a revival of elegant men's dressing, worn in an ironic way. It was an Edwardian revival, hence the nickname Teddy. And it also combined some aspects of American rockabilly, most specifically the bouffant hairstyles. African American culture was beginning to set trends that will be copied or stolen by mainstream white culture. Little Richard was one exception to this rule, an influential rock and roll innovator. He was also an astute businessman who kept his own property and the proceeds of his concerts. He was a fashion pacesetter famous for his flashy suits, bouffant hair, and colorful shoes. California culture becomes a pop phenomenon on its own, with surfing, a pastime many had discovered while in the military in California or Hawaii. In 1957, lawyer Frederick Kroner published a novel based on the exploits of his surfer daughter named Gidget. The book was a hit, made into a movie, and then Hollywood produced dozens of knockoff surfer films for the growing teenage market. The bikini is finally accepted in America, although many communities would drag their feet allowing them in public. Surfer culture rejected mainstream culture, such as persecuting people for non-conforming beliefs and equating American freedom with consumerism. Two styles emerged. Hawaiian surfers adopted the Aloha style, celebrating Pacific Rim textiles in what we now start calling the Hawaiian shirt. California surfers adopt plain white t-shirts as streetwear, part of their anti-consumerist statement. One of the most admired surfers in the world was Phil Edwards, whose style helped establish the California image. This is an excellent example of underwear becoming a street style. The Hawaiian style used the Aloha shirt, and menswear manufacturers copy this idea for the more conservative mass market, making cabana suits, a shirt made to match or complement a bathing suit. This allowed men to add another layer while not actually swimming. California's own Catalina swimsuits set the standard for American poolside glamour. To support the 1950s figure, bras and girdle panels are built directly into the bathing suits. Matching shorts or sarong skirts turn a bathing suit into a fashionable ensemble for after swimming or socializing at the country club. General prosperity made it possible for the first time for more young people to stay in school through their teenage years. They had money to spend. They set fashions for themselves. Soon, mass market manufacturers catered directly to this group. Teens dressed in separates much of the time that looks like they're halfway status, not children and not full adults. Full new look skirts and A-line skirts were the favorites for every day. Young women wore short socks on a regular basis instead of stockings. Trends swept the whole country within weeks or months thanks to a new publishing industry. 17 magazine forever changed the media and consumer market for teenage girls. It was not the first publication to notice teenage girls, but it was the first that reached a large audience by taking them seriously and devoting an entire magazine to them. Here are two styles that were popular with teenage girls. The felt circle skirt seen on the left. These were decorated with large motifs such as flowers and different scenic elements. But the most iconic was perhaps the poodle skirt. The poodle had a pop culture moment of its own, just like various animals, like a hedgehog, have them today. Another example of a teen style is the cardigan sweater. Teenage girls turned them around and wore them backwards so that the buttons that would normally be up the front are down the back. American teenagers wore blue jeans, which distressed their parents to no end and drove many schools to create dress codes barring them. Jeans were rolled to about mid-calf, as we can see on the left, or worn short, showing the shoes as seen on the right. Teens have new pace setters to admire, the new music form of rock and roll. One style appealed to the college set, such as Bill Haley and the Comets, who you can see here wearing Ivy League style matched tuxedos of Madras plaid. Another end of rock and roll catered to the Hellraisers. One pace setter from this era was Elvis Presley. We now call this style Rockabilly, and it was a working class style. It was known for a more casual style, including color block shirts or work style wear. Another movement among young people, particularly in big cities like New York, was titled beatniks by the press. This was a media stereotype for the literary movement we now call the Beat generation. Artists, writers, and intellectuals, or those rebelling against mainstream culture, were drawn to its loosely defined spiritual and political ideas. They were suspected of illicit activities such as drug use and trafficking, consorting with communists or other anti-American ideals. Beat culture was a very minor subculture, but its ties to artists and writers was strong and it carried an outsized impact. The fashion stereotype was people wearing striped French sailor shirts, black turtlenecks and trousers, berets, and wearing beards. These images were flashed around the world in books, films, and television. We have a new pop culture or low art form develop with origins in the New Paradise, California, where it sprang from contact with the Pacific cultures during the war. It was a blend of Maori and Polynesian cultures made into popular entertainment. It is the first themed entertainment where the customer lived a new experience for a short time. Soon, every major city in the country had at least one tiki bar or full-blown restaurant with fire-breathing dancers and an indoor jungle. These were the kinds of places you'd go for a special evening out, such as a wedding anniversary. California still has dozens of these hotels, restaurants, whole apartment buildings, and bars remaining, and they have picked up a second life with the renewed Tiki craze that started in the 2000s. Even Disneyland got into the act, opening the Tahitian Terrace in 1962. It was taken down in the 1990s. Americans assimilated tiki fashions into their leisure clothing, with tiki heads and flaming cocktail glasses entering the American visual language. It was used for dress, interior decor, and home furnishings. In this presentation, we looked at ways Americans either rebelled against mainstream fashion, created their own, or escaped reality for a short time. These groups expressed individual style not instigated by a fashion industry. They developed on the street or on campus or in the popular imagination. This is an important step toward fracturing the monolithic hold of mainstream fashion.